Mavis, and we're here straight into the draft already.
Yeah, we apologize for the delays, or apologies for the delays, even. But we are hopping right into the draft. So far, we have had Kaisa, Malphite, Orianna bans for NJCU on the blue side, for Post University on the red side, the opponents for NJCU tonight. Seraphine, Shaco, and Misfortune bans, and a Mumu first pick, followed by Jinx and Jarvan on the red side, a Zillion pick, and now we are waiting on pick number 3 for NJCU. Mavis, what have you seen? What are you looking at so far in this draft? Now that you're getting your eyes on it for the first time, what's speaking to you?
I'm really interested in the first pick of Momo, as I think that is pretty telling of what their game plan is going to be already. Momo's really good at team fighting, so I expect a strong team fight draft from NJCU.
hmm And it looks like a bit of a comfort pick for both of these teams. Both of them do like that Amumu quite a bit, although Post's jungler, Blind Swan, also has a pretty big amount of games played on Jarvan. So it's looking like both of these junglers are leaning a bit more towards comfort, but also a bit more towards the team fight. Uh, that'll be a Yumi locked in after the Tristana lock. So we are getting into the next ban phase where there are some flex picks still available. The Tristana can flex in a couple of different roles, although I expect it towards ADC. Zillion can flex into a couple of different roles. But we might just be looking at mid lane and top lane being the two pinch points. Do you like any bans here? I think the Gragas is one that both of these teams might like, just because Gragas is such a good and consistent champion, even
Gragas is
through all
pretty
of the play
consistent, yeah.
recently.
Gragas is very consistent, yeah, and it seems like Post believes the Cillian is not in the support position, considering the
hmm
rel ban.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Although it could also just be making sure that Paco Parrot, the support for NJCU, is not getting that comfort rel pick, because Paco Parrot is definitely one of the best players on this team, and rel is their most played champion, so definitely don't want to let that over. Also, the Zed being banned away, one of the
Yep, that's a
popular
very
picks
respectful
for.
ban.
Yeah, it is a very respectful ban onto the Knuckle Puck, the mid laner for Post. And we're rounding it out with Garen and Wukong. So, two top lane bans. I wonder what Post will pick here. It has to be a mid or top laner. I don't think that there are any more flexes. Theoretically, Jarvan can go top lane, but I really don't expect it in this instance. Do you like anything blind in either of those roles? Orianna actually is banned. I was going to say Orianna's a key thing still on the board, but it's not still on the board.
Yeah,
So,
Oriana's a very staple safe champion. Syndra is probably the other one that comes to mind. I'm not particularly sure we'll see a Syndra here, but they do look like they need some AP because Jinx is a very, very strong AD presence on their team. It'd be good to round that out with some AP.
yeah, you're absolutely right, as well as Jarvan providing a little bit of AD from the jungle as well. I expected to be a bit more of a tank Jarvan, but even still provides a bit there. But they'll go for the top lane first and pick the Ornn.
Warren
This
is another good
composition's
blind.
this composition's looking kind of nasty in the late game.
Yeah,
I don't know
Yumi's
if
a
you
really
agree.
strong late game pick. Jinx definitely hurts a lot once she gets going, and Ornn is pretty much the king of the late game with all of his ornaments.
hmm I love ornaments. Such a funny word. Um, I it kind of came by me, like it people started talking about it I after it had come around. I learned about it and I was like, that's a funny word. The Lissandra lock in, so that's very likely to go mid lane, right?
I have to
uh,
imagine, unless we're seeing a top lane Lissandra. This next pick will
which,
definitely be telling of what NJCU's draft will look like.
yep. I mean, it would push the Zillion to the bottom lane. Uh, Zillion Tristan is kind of funny. I mean, I guess he can bomb combo, which is actually very funny if he stomped down on the bomb. Yeah, there it is. There's the Renekton. Interesting answer into the Ornn. I don't know what you think about it. I'm not a huge fan of Renekton into Ornn.
I feel like Renekton would have a hard time killing Ornn, but I'm
There
sure
it
there's
is.
still a window where he would have the opportunity to kill Ornn still.
hmm
There's
Yeah,
quite a
as
bit of
well as
beef
just
on the enemy
contribute
team
to
though.
those team fights. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
There's quite a bit of beef on the opponent team between the Orin. Silas can be pretty beefy on his own. Jarvan can be tanky if he ends up going for a tank build over an AD build, and then throw a Yumi on top of that. It's like it'd be a little harder to burst out people, but like you said, Renekton does bring some good utility, even if he doesn't necessarily get super fed, which he still might.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. And now that we're going to look at these entire compositions as we get into the actual draft, we were in not pro draft. I'm not actually sure what that website was, but it was not pro draft. But now that we are getting into the regular draft, is there anything that stood out to you? NJCU has a lot of CC on their composition, from Lissandra, one of the best CC mid laners in the game, to Amumu, one of the best engaged junglers in the game, to even Renekton, who has a fantastic CC spell in that W. That's a lot of
Yeah.
CC.
Yeah, there's a lot of CC on both teams there. What it's worth, I'd say both teams did draft very strong, front to back team fight comps, which was kind of telling from their early on marksman picks.
So I guess considering that, where do you think each team finds an edge? Do you think that there is an edge in that Renekton counterpick to Ornn, the Silas counterpick to Lissandra? Where do you think one of these teams might find an advantage in this game?
I do particularly like. I think the Lissandra Amumu could be a pretty good ultimate synergy, or I guess not ultimate synergy, but between the Amumu R and then Lissandra's passive. Once, if NJCU manages to get a pick on anyone on the side of post, Lissandra's passive can do quite a bit of work, especially in a CC heavy environment. Her passive does quite a lot of damage compared to most abilities in the game, so it is very significant.
That's definitely true, although that does mean they'll have to find a pick, and this is a very beefy team, as you mentioned earlier, so it could be a bit difficult.
Yeah,
But I definitely agree that it could do a ton of damage if they're able to pull it off, and by itself, kind of, it's a word I'm looking for. In a vacuum, it's a really good combination to have. The issue will just be, can they make it work? Can they shut down some of these champions from getting too far ahead to where they're not going to be able to find those big damage combos towards the later parts of the game? Because I do think that as the game goes later and later, this team for Post University gets stronger and stronger. You've got the Jinx, as we mentioned earlier, the Ornaments, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of tankiness from a lot of different champions, as well as the Yumi heals. It gets pretty rough. Any team comp would have trouble getting through that, and a team composition where sure you have a lot of CC, but the damage might be a little light. Tristana's a good carry, but not a fantastic one. Lissandra doesn't do a ton of damage. Renekton falls off a little bit as the game goes on. Does that worry you a little bit if you are NJCU, or do you think you can wrap this up in the mid game?
yeah, I think that's the primary thing I'm looking at is that despite both having the team fight comps, I do think the mid game team fights are more NJCU favored, and I think as the game goes on, it's going to be harder and harder to ignore the ornaments and the Yumi scaling and the even just the Jinx scaling on her own. There's quite a bit going on there. I do think the saving grace for that may be the Zillion R because you effectively can have Tristana have a GA for almost permanently.
That's definitely true, and that could definitely provide a lot in a later game team fight, just making sure that nothing is able to pick off the Tristana, or potentially there are a number of other uses you can revive anyone who hasn't gotten their ultimate off yet. That could be something very useful. Uh, I think there's a lot of obviously the utility of someone getting a free GA is something not to be looked down upon. It's a fantastic tool at your disposal. Uh, just as a quick note to anyone just joining, we are now into spectator delay. Uh, This match is a varsity match between NJCU on the blue side and Post University on the red side. We are just getting into game number 1 of this best of 3 series. So after this, regardless of who wins, we get another game. We can see what these teams decide to adapt. Uh, looking at it, I think we've identified some strengths for each of these teams. Neither team composition is too difficult to pull off, but neither of them really spikes in the early game, and you kind of look at NJCU's composition getting a bit of a boost at level 6 and kind of petering off as the game gets later and later, while Post University really wants to be hitting that late game point early to try to have the incredible power of all those champions. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Uh, I'm honestly not sure what's going to happen in this game. I think we could be seeing a lot of early game action. It's something that a lot of teams like to go for, and in a match that kind of feels as even in the early game as a game like this, we could see something exciting. I do think that something to mention is the Zillion Tristana combo, which I didn't really touch upon too much, but you put a bomb on Tristana, you put a bomb where Tristana will jump to, and Tristana jumps onto that bomb. As I wave with my hands, Tristana jumps onto that bomb, takes out the second bomb, and that's an instant stun. Well, it's not an instant stun, but it is a stun in that location. That could be pretty useful. And if that comes up in lane, Jinx Yumi might have a bit of trouble dealing with it, or just like the threat of it could be very difficult for Jinx Yumi in lane. So
Yeah, it could be a very unexpected source of a stun for people who may not be familiar with that sort of interaction.
And that might be just why NJCU decided to opt for it, because it is something that is so uncomfortable for many of these players, something that potentially they would be able to find an edge in the early game and kind of push that to a win. Because in a best of 3 series, if you can find a win through an unconventional method, that is absolutely huge, because now you just need to find one win out of the next 2 games in a more conventional method, or with another unconventional method. There's a lot that you can do with that.
Well, as we load in here, the main thing that I'm very interested in early is that the Jarvan 4 has a lot more agency in level 2 ganking than Amumu would. And I think that may be interesting to see if Jarvan tries to do something early with one of his lanes. I'd be particularly looking at the Sylas potentially, but you also could maybe see something with the Jinx, some early Chompers shenanigans or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There is a lot of CC setup in a lot of different lanes, honestly. You could see something coming out of the Ornn theory. Ornn can have some pretty deceptive early base damages, but definitely the Sylas, definitely the Chompers. There's a lot that could go wrong in the early game if you are NJCU. So you definitely want to make sure that nothing like that happens, that the Jarvan's kept a little under control. I doubt you want to go for any sort of early invade shenanigans, but just kind of hoping that everyone sits still for a couple levels. Level 6 would be absolutely great for NJCU. If nothing happens pre-6 from post, that would be generally pretty good, I think, for NJCU, getting their spikes at level 6, but even still, they've got to perform with those ultimates, and that'll be huge. And given that the ultimates are pretty important, it's pretty important that the Sylas is around in the same time, because you can get that Zillion revive, you can get that Lissandra ultimate, you can get that Amumu ultimate. That's some pretty important spells, and spells that also have some pretty big AP scalings that the Amumu and the Zillion won't necessarily be utilizing, but the Sylas absolutely will.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was meaning to point out, was the Sylas potentially stealing the Amumu ultimate in particular. That's a tremendous amount of CC for Sylas to be able to bring into a fight, just on top of all the other CC that Post ended up drafting for themselves.
And I mean, Sylas in general is pretty good at providing that sort of engage, the same kind that Amumu has, where you do have that chain that's kind of like the bandage toss. You can flash after it. There's a lot of range on that, but we are into game again. NJCU on the blue side, Post University on the red.
Looks like we're gonna see a spread start here. No early shenanigans.
Yep. No early shenanigans. Pretty smart on the side of both teams. I wouldn't have expected them to do anything too ridiculous off the bat. So yeah, looking like it's nothing too exciting. Looking into runes, I guess the Predator Lysandra is pretty exciting. It's not necessarily interesting, but it is exciting. The Hail of Blades Tristana speaks a bit more to my theory about the engage heavy Tristana early game, where they are trying to go for those early kills rather than a bit of a later game Tristana focus, which could be something like the lethal tempo or press the attack or something. Hail of Blades is good on Tristana regardless, but you can get a ton of damage early on with those bombs, plus the zillion bombs, just everyone's bombs.
I think something that may be interesting to make note of is the Predator on Lysandra. As I said, that at least tells me that Lysandra is looking to not hang out mid lane for very long. She probably wants to roam to the side lane and get either the Renekton or the bottom lane fed.
Yeah, and that's generally what fits pretty good playstyle for Lysandra, so I think it's a smart decision.
Yep.
So far, we're not seeing a whole lot of chaos in the lanes. That's a lot of damage early for Knucklepuck to be taking, but it doesn't look like it will be anything too catastrophic. That's a bit of a good return trade. Nothing too exciting so far. Both junglers are farming up their entire bottom side jungles and will be moving to the top side soon. That could mean we see some excitement on the top side, maybe some fighting around the Scuttle Crab there, as both junglers are heading towards that same side, but we will have to see.
It appears bot lane has a push for NJCU's favor down there as well, which is pretty good. Tristana's passive, or not passive, yeah, Tristana's passive makes it pretty easy for her to keep you shoved in once she gets the shove advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and we'll have to keep an eye on that, because it is difficult to play against that Tristana in that way. Both these junglers are kind of hovering around the top side. It does look like Post has gotten the better jump on the Rift Herald. Or not on the Rift Herald, the Scuttle Crab. It turns into a Rift Herald, but a Blind Swan got a bit of a nice edge on that. Even still, we'll see. Could be a double Scuttle start. I doubt it, but it could be. And yeah, there's that big Tristana damage to the wave. Still hasn't amounted in a huge CS difference. Or any kills or anything. Not even a lot of damage. Ooh, that's a bit of an aggressive engage. A bit low, but there's the flash out from Knucklepuck. Not going to get anything there, but we do have the engage back. Knucklepuck and Blind Swan are trying to get the kill, but they do find the first blood. The kill does go back onto Knucklepuck, but the Lysandra E is enough to get out, and that will be a 1-for-1 trade. Paco picking up the kill on the side of... Oh, wait, that's actually an engage in the top lane. Will not be a kill onto Don't Miss Your March, but it is a flash burned by Angel Assassin. Definitely a good play there. Yeah, that was a pretty big trade in the mid lane, though. All flashes burned, and Paco picking up a kill after Knucklepuck picked up the first blood, I believe.
Yep, so we already got a little bit of early action going on in this game. It seems like NJCU is, or well, really both teams are actually looking to make some early plays, not just a scale.
Yeah, it definitely kind of started off the back of Knucklepuck going in on the engage, trying to get that 1v1 in lane after being really low on health. But both junglers ended up being there, and so it ended up being a bit of a scrappy 2v2 where it felt like KP Cooper didn't really know what to do being in a Mumu in that situation.
So while we're sitting here waiting for everybody to level up to level 6, Jinx just recently got a change that made her Rocket's quite a lot longer in range than she's been for a very long time. Do you think that has any impact on how this matchup bot lane will be played out?
It could just a bit, but I always look at these supports in these kinds of matchups, and Yuumi is a little bit awkward to make work in lane, even regardless. And a lot of people who want to be playing that pocket Yuumi style are just going to be opting a little bit more towards the late game after a little bit of a nice knock up there, but that's a lot of damage coming back. I don't know if that trade was worth it. Oh, we do have the engage coming from
here as well.
Yeah, and that's Don't Miss Your Mark picking up the kill.
But it looks like both Renekton and Lissandra will be able to escape.
Yep. Oh, that's a optimistic ultimate. Still going for the play, but I think Don't Miss Your Mark is not going to go for that one. The ultimate has been burned for the Lissandra ultimate. There it's used, and it will.
Silas.
Yep.
Renekton able to escape. TP back from the Ornn.
I don't think both of them are going, but I think this will be at least one kill. There it is. Knucklepuck getting the first kill onto Don't Miss Your Mark. They're not able to find Paco, but that ends up being another 1-for-1 overall. And yeah, a bit of a messy fight. Going back in was maybe not the best decision by Don't Miss Your Mark after finding the ultimate, I believe, on the level up after getting the kill onto Angel Assassin. Excuse me, onto Angel Assassin.
Yeah, it did post both of their teleports, however, and NJCU only lost one teleport, so there is still a teleport differential here.
There is a teleport differential, and a lot of that play was built on the back of Paco having the push advantage, going all the way over to the top lane, I believe using the Predator in order to make that play work as well. Definitely what Paco has kind of been playing for this entire time, and there's, yeah, another engage, but not really able to find anything. I think they wanted to make a, down in the bottom lane, they tried to make a bomb combo work, but it just didn't pan out. And yeah, it does look like both of these junglers are going towards a bit more of a tanky style. We've seen AP Amumu, we've seen AD Jarvan. That's what we're getting today, but there's the bomb combo I was mentioning earlier. I don't know if they'll find this kill here. They will not, but it is pretty close. Definitely getting out. There's the Predator. Yeah, the Yuumi does not have a lot of way out, and Paco is going to pick it up on the back of level 1 Slime's double bombs. Yuumi just cannot get anywhere. That is one of the dangerous parts about playing Yuumi. You get hit, you die. That'll have to be backing out.
This looks like it's going to be a dragon for NJCU.
Yeah, that I believe you're right. And yeah, they are going to be able to pick that one up. So definitely a good play in the bottom lane there for NJCU, identifying where they needed to move down, and identifying that a Blind Swan was not really in the area for it. I'm
very happy with how this early game has turned out so far for NJCU. I think they're taking control of the game early, and I think that's what they need to do to avoid the 40-50 minute late game shenanigans with the ornaments and the Yuumi and all the scaling we discussed in the draft.
I definitely agree that they're making some plays. I think there's a bit more that they need to push for. Maybe an early Rift Herald would be nice, a push with that. Maybe one more clean 1-for-0 gank. Not to be asking for too much, I suppose, but just a little bit more would be nice, I think. But there is a plate there as Knucklepuck just taking a lot of damage. It's difficult making
a 4-person bot lane here. And Mumu finally got his ultimate, so maybe a fight here.
Ooh, that was a early short. Yep, Lissandra's here, goes for the engage. There's the double ultimate that is going to do so much there. Nope, no room to get out. And the Yuumi with no flash is just going to go down as well. That is 2 kills over to NJCU. 1 to Paco, 1 to X-Chucky. And that's the bottom lane going down again. 3 of the 5 deaths now on post in that bottom lane. Had a lot of issues early on in this game, but now it is just going to get compounded. It's probably going to be at least one plate going over. I can't exactly see it very well,
It's
but
two plates so far.
yep.
Tristana shreds towers very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's actually been 3 plates. This 4th plate might fall as well. I don't think they'll be able to take the tower as a whole, but that is a ton of gold onto this Tristana, who you really need to be the main damage threat. That's, yeah, don't even play around with that one.
This is big money, big money Tristana.
Yep.
Tristana's W is down if J4 wants to make a play here, but it doesn't look like they will be attempting that. Ooh, but they actually might be.
Yeah, but they're taking a lot of damage in return, though. Blind Swan will have to back out there as X-Chucky just dealing too much damage, and that's a bunch of damage. Imagine what'll happen when that gold has actually been spent. We are seeing a tiny bit of engage in the top lane. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of it. Looking at the gold, about 1,000 in the favor of X-Chucky in that bottom lane. That is an enormous difference, but that is all unspent gold, so we're basically even in terms of what they've actually spent. Might be a good time for X-Chucky to back off, spend that gold, try to get the advantage back before anything too bad happens. There's another fight in the top lane.
So it's a very extended fight in the top lane.
Yeah, which does benefit Angel Assassin in the very long term, as you will just get more and more grass procs off, and it's not a whole lot that a Renekton can do about a bunch of grass procs.
Tristana wants the whole tower.
Yeah, I don't know if it can be tower, though. The resistances just get bigger and bigger. I think if you want that to be tower, you probably have to back, spend your money, and then come back afterwards and see if that can be tower. Make some sort of play like that, maybe bring a friend or two, Paco or KP Cooper. But I don't know if either of those are reasonable. There is some damage there. There's the stun onto Chris, and Chris is just going to get knocked down. Gunnar now left alone as a Yuumi, but being alone as a Yuumi is not where you want to be. Just going to back off, and that's another 2v2 kill by the NJCU bot lane. Now KP Cooper approaching Angel Assassin in the top lane. They are going to try to follow, and the ultimate does land. There it is. Angel Assassin knocked down by the gank in the top lane. That is 3 kills across the map for NJCU.
So now a substantial early lead going towards NJCU.
Yep, it is just growing and growing. That is now, I believe, 5k overall, and the bottom lane turret as well. That is a lot to fight against if you're post. You want to get to that late game, but you have to be making plays kind of soon if you don't want to be losing a lot in this early game. Thankfully,
gets your Kraken Slayer and Berserker Greaves off though.
Yep, that is very big. And that was a pretty big gold injection. That was 2 kills and first tower all into X-Chucky's pocket. All definitely very good. And the Kraken Slayer, that's got to feel nice when you're fighting just up against a Noon Quiver and a pickaxe. Does look like Angel Assassin kind of wanted to engage there, but there's no one really there. Maybe just want to steal the Rift Herald. Not going to get it. And I will say, a Blind Swan has been a little invisible this game. Have not really seen a lot from that Jarvan. I've seen KP Cooper a little bit, but after that first Blood play where a Blind Swan was just kind of in the right area, I don't think I've seen a whole lot from this Jarvan, and it's made it a little bit awkward for this post team who's just been at a numbers advantage all over the map.
I totally agree. The good thing about Jarvan is that he still has utility to bring to the game even as the game goes on, but I probably would have liked to see a little bit more early
pressure
aggression. Yeah, early aggression from the J4, especially against someone with a pretty weak early game like Amumu.
Yeah, I totally agree. And now NJCU has rotated their bottom lane over to the mid, and are just kind of splitting up the map into a bit of a 1-3-1 with pushes in all 3 lanes right now.
The Sunrise might be getting clapped on here by the J4.
Might just be. There is a lot of damage there. TP is available, but does not look like a Blind Swan really wants to go for it. You gotta make a play somewhere. I feel like that would be an easy one, and now he's getting collapsed upon. A lot of damage coming out from X-Chucky. I think that was a failed flash over the wall, and X-Chucky is going to lock that one down.
So,
And the Rift Herald's going to get pulled out.
Nice, so the Tristana's going to use her blaster, take down that mid tower. Renekton's going to be in a really extended duel here in the top lane.
This is very close. It looks like Angel Assassin's going to be able to get away with this one. Possibly after the... Oh, no, the flash forward with the W. Not going to finish it off, though. The flash out for Angel Assassin will be good, and I think that's going to be tower, though. So definitely a good play by Don't Miss Your Mark. And the Rift Herald still up in the mid lane, actually has taken 2 towers already, and is just still pushing it down. I wonder if X-Chucky is going to be able to get this 3rd one as well. They do get the tower in the top lane, and the Blind Swan just kind of walks forward into 3 members and dies. Even when you're trying to do something simple like that, it's very difficult, and Angel Assassin misses the ultimate as well. Too low on HP to really go in. This is looking very bad for Post. Post is behind a lot.
It's not very often that you see a 10k gold differential. However, Post still has the late game on their side. They just need to stem their bleeding a little bit.
They do.
How much you think? What in particular does Post need to change to be able to stem their bleeding a little bit and drag this game out so that they have time to scale?
I think part of the big part is the 50-50. Is it going to be Infernal Soul? Is it going to be Cloud Soul? It is Infernal Soul. That's the one I don't think is lucky for Post, because at the very least, if it's Cloud Soul, you can kind of ignore it. It's not the most impactful dragon in the late game team fights. It's not that important in team fighting in general, and you can just kind of hold the line a little bit. But now, I think they got to make some plays. I think they have to try to cut someone off in the side lane, but I don't know who they would be able to do that for. The only teleport available is on Don't Miss Your Mark. Does have the Gore Drinker, though, and the ultimate. It'll be difficult. It'll be difficult whoever they try to knock down, but if they send like 4 members, they'll probably be able to knock someone down. They need to get some of this tower gold back as well, because so many towers have fallen in the last couple of minutes, and it'll just keep going exactly that badly. I mean, they're down to their inhibitor in mid lane. It's a bit of a push forward, but yeah. Knuckle puck. Puckle Knuck. Knuckle Puck. Oh, and yeah, Angel Assassin's just gonna get caught. There's the damage from X-Chucky. Unstoppable now. So many kills in this game. Here's the engage on
Silas maybe looking to get something back.
Yeah, is trying to go for it. We'll see. Both flashes have been used now.
Paco both ultimates.
Gonna... Yep, there's the W coming out. And the ultimate's going to be turned around on the other side. And a Blind Swan will pick up the kill. So that is a shutdown, a pretty good shutdown, but still a kill lost. A couple of... Oh, X-Chucky just popped. Gunner. I do not know exactly how that happened, but it might be because this is an incredibly fed Tristana who is about to knock down an inhibitor pre-20. That'll definitely be a part of it, contributing factor. But even regardless of all that, NJCU has such a lead so many parts of this map. That was very close to landing for level 1 Slime. And the engage comes in from Angel Archer. There's a bit of a catch onto X-Chucky. He might be able to pull this one out, but actually the ultimate comes through for Zillion, so that will not be dead. And all the damage is still coming out.
Tristana version 2 is back and running.
Yep, and that'll be... Yeah.
He gets out of the skin of his teeth.
Oh, and the pop.
NJCU still here. She wants it all.
NJCU is still here. If they can get one reset, that didn't work. And both of them die as well. X-Chucky might just run down the rest of this game. They tried to take him down, but X-Chucky, with fantastic, immaculate scoreline, will probably close out this game for NJCU, and a quick victory over Post will take them to 1-0 in this varsity best-of-3 series. That was a bit one-sided, to be honest.
This is why we make it best-of-3, however.
That's true.
But that was a very strong early start from NJCU. I think they capitalized very well. upon. They capitalized very well on the opportunities that they represented, and they did a really good job snowballing their lead once they acquired it.
Yeah, and I think even more than that, they did a really good job at taking their win conditions, which was engage at level 6 and have a bit of roaming around the map with Paco on the Lissandra, and executing that. That is how they executed their early game lead. That is got X Chucky ahead. They identified that they needed the Tristana ahead, especially because, like, the way you win League of Legends is you knock down enough towers to be able to knock down the Nexus. And it probably would have taken a lot longer if their ADC was equally fed but playing something like Jhin, where you're not actually able to knock down towers as fast. So it was a really interesting / smart decision to get X Chucky so far ahead and have X Chucky focus on the towers, because they were just able to run it down mid and end the game way earlier than I even would have expected with a lead like that. So
Yeah.
just a really well executed game from NJCU. And what do you think Post needs to change for game number 2?
The biggest thing for me, at least, the biggest thing that I saw was the bot lane may need to get a little bit more help from Post, or there needs to be some focus elsewhere on the map. J4 kind of just farmed, which is okay, but he's not a particularly fast farming champion. I would have really loved to see him get active on the map somewhere. So if you want to play a farming champion, I would love to see something like the Fiddlesticks or Karthus or Olaf, something that may generate a pretty significant gold lead for himself.
Something that either farms faster or is more impactful, even something like a Master Yi, which could take over the game as a farming. Where, I mean, Jarvan's almost the worst of both worlds, where you're farming a ton and now now you have your tank items faster. What's that going to do for you? You know?
Yeah, if the Jarvan comes back, which I think it could, I think that just trying to find a little bit more, maybe even drafting a lane that may have a little bit earlier kill pressure, maybe even something like a Twisted Fate, or even draft yourself the Renekton if you want to. That may give you more of an opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive for these early plays and get yourself a transition piece for getting your early game foot in the door.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Or even just more aggressive pathing. Be in the lanes more. It felt like the one time that a Blind Swan was anywhere close to the action was by accident. So I just would like to see just that tiniest bit more aggression out of Post in the early game, because turned around a couple of things, and we are getting into draft for game number 2. How exciting. Post is now on the blue side, NJCU is now on the red. So they've swapped things around. I forgot to do my photographic memory of League of Legends Champion Selects trick, aka I screenshot the Champion Select, so I will have to go on my memory draft of the previous draft, but I'll see how well that goes. Any bans in particular you'd like to see out of Post? Maybe the Amumu, the Lissandra, the Tristana, anything that you think that would be worth getting rid of, as opposed to stuff that Post should just play around?
I wouldn't hate a Tristana ban personally. I think Tristana, I say, even though like the most of the other marksmen, like the Jhin, but there is the Lissandra ban, which I like that too. But things like Jhin, you mentioned earlier, don't do particularly well at killing towers, and while Tristana and marksmen like Tristana do a much better job at killing towers, Tristana's probably one of the best at nuking towers. Her E does a tremendous amount of damage to towers, and combine that with her really long attack range and her attack speed boost on her Q, and she can just do a tremendous amount of damage to towers.
Yeah, at the very least, if you're trying to play for late game, you don't want to let anything that will end the game very quickly through. So I agree with what you're saying there, basically. But we have not seen the Tristana off the board yet, just the Lysandra and the Seraphine, which is banned last game. On NJCU's side, I believe last game it was the Malphite, the Kaisa, and the Orianna. So we can see if that holds true, or if they decide they want to get rid of something played by Post last game, anything they might not have liked perfectly, but honestly, with how well they played last game, and it's the Zillion that's actually off the board. So
I could see that as well. Zillion does bring. Zillion's not a particularly common champion to see, so it may just be discomfort going against him. And if that's the case, then I think it's probably for the better just to get him out of there.
I think that's definitely true. Although I always, I guess we'll see if we see the Tristana or not. If Post decides to pick the Tristana, maybe round 2. What they decide to open with, because last game we saw the Amumu first pick. I wonder if Post might pick away the Amumu first as the reasoning behind it, and NJCU just take that off the board immediately. That would be, yeah, that is their play. Just take the Amumu off the board. Don't let it in the hands of Post, which is why they went for it on the first pick blue side last game, and now Post has to decide what they want. It could be the Orianna, but I don't know that you want to first pick your mid laner, regardless. Yeah, Orianna's a great safe pick, but I don't know that you want to first pick your mid laner at all, ever. So we will wait on this pick. It creeps me out that this timer counts up, I'll be honest. And there's the Jarvan pick.
It's a little jarring.
I always expect it to be like counting down to a number, and I'll be like, yes, here it is, it's the pick. But then it's just like up. There's the Jarvan pick though. As I think we said before, it's not terrible in concept, but definitely could have used some work in the execution department. And potentially a bit of a contested pick, so there's that. Zed as a blind pick is a bit of an interesting one, though. What do you think about that?
Very interesting blind pick. I was going to mention it earlier if I was wondering if NJCU's mid laner would be picking up some alternative roaming champion to Lysandra, maybe something like the Twisted Fate in particular, or potentially like a Galio or something along those lines. Zed's does roam, but admittedly not to the same degree that Zed or not Zed, sorry, Lysandra, Galio, Twisted Fate, etc. would bring. So
it's definitely a different kind of roaming potential. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's not utility, more damage.
Yeah, it is a ton of damage, but it is basically no utility. So we'll see what NJCU decides to pair along with the Zed. And what Post decides to pick into it. I kind of would expect the Orianna to be the pick that they would want. Teemo is the other pick.
Interesting.
All right. To be clear, we have just gotten news from production that is a Rel, not a Teemo. Which is I'm not too surprised about seeing it in the support position in this game for NJCU. Rel is a very strong champion, has decent engage and great disengage. Generally just a very good melee support. So
the Victor answer into the Zed.
That's interesting. I don't hate it necessarily. You do have Q to give you a little bit of extra movement speed, a bit of a shield, maybe save you in some of these Zed engage, but at the same time, you still might just get bursted out. But maybe the assumption is that anything will get bursted out, and we just have to pick whatever is going to provide the most to us for the rest of the team. And speaking of providing a lot to the rest of the team, there's the Soraka support as the pickup for Post University. I guess it could be Soraka top if we're going back to the days, but I am hoping that is not what we have gracing our screens today.
Something else I was going to mention was that this could be also a Victor top, potentially. There is some flex room in the Victor.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right.
Top winners pool. Mm-hmm. We have the Jinx on the NJCU side this time.
Yeah, and I think Jinx
Seems,
Rel is a pretty decent combo. We'll have to see
seems
what
like it'd be
NJCU
very
is able
strong.
to do with a pick like this. A little bit less aggressive and exciting than the Tristana, but undeniably still able to pack a punch if they're able to pull it off correctly. But now no jungler, no top laner for NJCU so far. Again, that Teemo is a Rel. And then for post, no top laner and no ADC. I wonder if NJCU will try to pinch the ADC pool. They do decide to take away the Aphelios. I believe one of the other ones they'll try to take away might be the Jhin. And with the Jhin taken away, I don't know where Chris will decide to go with that one.
I have to wonder if NJCU, regardless of what they ban here, if they intend to pick the Ornn as their first pick of the
They
second
might,
round.
just to match the previous game, assuming that Post does not ban it away. Definitely works. I think the Ornn, at the very least in the last game, even despite what Don't Miss Your Mark was able to do on the Renekton, I think Angel Assassin showed that the Ornn is always able to put in a little bit of work, and with a team that is doing a bit less poorly, might be able to put in a lot more work for the team, if that makes any sense. And with the Renekton banned away, I think this might just be an Ornn pickup, if that is the direction that NJCU wants to go. They have banned away the Ezreal as well, which makes me sad because my favorite part of Season 11 so far has been seeing what builds Ezreals decide to go with. I think it is the best part.
I think right now the Duskblade
Yeah,
Essence
it's the
Reaver
Duck
build has
Blade.
been dominating Ezreal's
Yeah,
places
yeah.
with a little bit of sprinkling of the shoot, what's the other item called? The Olaf.
Yeah, that's the Olaf in the jungle.
Very interested at that pick actually, 'cause I feel like J4 is probably one of the better matchups into Olaf actually. Olaf
Yeah.
cannot get out of J4's Cataclysm. It's one of the only forms of CC that Olaf can escape, so I'm really interested in that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you put it that way, yeah, he can't escape the baby jail. Well, it's not the baby jail, but it's a baby jail. And yeah, you just kind of get stuck in the thing. I mean, you might want to invest in having Flash this game instead of Ghost, but Ghost is so efficient on the Olaf. Have to see what KP Cooper decides to go for.
Speaking of Season 11, Olaf top has been growing in popularity in Season 11 a
That's
little bit,
true.
so it could be potentially an Olaf top. Even still, I still think that means that Olaf may have to be pretty careful of J4 ganks, especially once he gets level 6, but I guess we will have to see how that turns out.
It is a bit dangerous, and just flipping around the matchup, Tristana will be picked for post.
Both teams just decided to handshake and swap roles, I guess.
Yep, very different supports this time with the Soraka Rel matchup. Soraka's not exactly a Zillion, doesn't necessarily provide that same kind of kill pressure, but on the other side, Rel is a bit ranged in the Yuumi, but provides a little bit more engage than the Yuumi would be able to. So that'll be a big point to watch out for if that bot lane shifts around, or if NJC's bot lane just says that, hey, we're the better bot lane, we can swap around 80 carries and we'll still win the matchup. That's always a possibility. Soraka does the same kind of thing as Zillion, of providing a ton of extra health. Zillion through the ultimate, while Soraka it's just through basic healing, but it'll also require a bit of grievous wounds for NJCU. Something I also want to mention, as the Volibear is locked in likely as the top laner, NJCU does not have any AP damage, any magic damage right now. That might be something they want to get out of their top laner.
Yeah, it could be possible to see something along the lines of the Mordekaiser, or maybe even an actual Teemo, or
A
something
real
along those lines.
Teemo. Yeah, Mordekaiser would be nice, I think. There are a lot of options for an AP top laner, or even if the Zed or Olaf goes top. than an AP jungler or just a standard AP mid laner. The Volibear is a little bit difficult to match against just because Volibear does have such an easy push with the zappy move on the auto attacks.
Yeah, Volibear's passive lets him push waves very quickly. It's almost he has a permanent static shiv.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, static shiv.
Yeah, rest in peace, Static Shiv. It lives on in oh, look at that, that's Poppy. I was gonna say it lives on in Teamfight Tactics, but Poppy will get locked in. I believe that will just be for the top lane, so just kind of a tanky matchup in the top lane, but a lot of physical damage for this NJCU team, while a bit more of a mixed spread for Post, while still options for NJCU. I mean, there are a couple of tanky champions. It will not be easy for a Zed just to completely take over this game, but if the Zed was potentially able to just completely take over the game, that's very scary for the side of Post. Do you have any thoughts looking at this lineup as a whole? I don't know that I love the NJCU team composition.
I'm still trying to figure out if I like it or not because I still don't like the Olaf into J4 is playable. Olaf outfarms J4 pretty easily, but J4 can just baby cage Olaf at pretty much any point in the game. That's a little unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
However, with this Poppy pick, Poppy does have a grounded effect, which does sort of negate stuff like Jarvan's engage as well as Tristana's jump in as well. So I'm very interested to see if NJCU can manage to make use of Poppy's W to I guess to negate the mobility on Post's side of the draft.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I'm just so worried about NJCU's lack of magic damage, especially when Post has a couple of potential tanky threats. I mean, after you get past the first item for Jarvan and Volibear, they can just be stacking armor for the rest of the game. And is there much that NJCU would be able to do about it? I mean,
Yeah,
they're
that's
already going to they're already going to have to buy Grievous Wounds in order to break through the Soraka healing, and now you also have to get through the tankiness, the armor buildup for the top and jungle. So, but I guess as I'm saying that, it's kind of how we felt last game, where Post had the late game advantage, and JCU had a lot of advantages in the kind of early to mid game, and NJCU was able to identify their win conditions and take over the game. And I think that if they do that same thing again, they win this game. And you know, another champion that's pretty good at taking towers, Jinx is pretty good at doing that. So I think that there's a lot of possibility there for NJCU to take over the game in the same way that they did last time.
this is certainly playable. The I guess it requires quite a bit of finesse to play out this combo. I guess that's the main concern. We'll have to see how NJCU manages to navigate this because this is not a comp that looks very favorable if you manage to fall behind Post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a lot to work against if you fall behind in the early game. You gotta make sure nothing like that happens. But hey, if you don't fall behind in the early game, it's a lot better. So we will definitely see as we get into the game. As a reminder, or to anyone who has just joined, this is a best of 3 varsity match between NJCU, currently on the red side, and Post University, currently on the blue. Game 1 went decisively in NJCU's favor after a bit of a slow early game. NJCU got a ton of kills, ran it completely down mid with a ADC Tristana, who is incredibly fed, and they just kind of took over the game. So this game, with this draft, which has been swapped up quite a bit from the previous game, I don't believe the only person who is playing the same champion as they were last game was a Blind Swan on the Jarvan. Everyone else has changed their champion entirely. So we could be in for something different, but NJCU with the advantage here, one more win and go home with the victory. But a loss does bring us to game 3. So bit of a interesting matchup here. What do you make of this bottom lane matchup? We talked about it a little bit, but the Tristana Soraka versus the Jinx Rel. What do you think of those champions? Do you think that NJCU's bottom lane will have a lot of an engagement? Do you think that Post's bottom lane might have the range advantage and take over the lane from there? What do you think
Yeah,
about that one?
that that's something else I've been trying to weigh out is how much Soraka may be able to use her silence to negate Rel's ability to engage.
Hmm.
And I'm not particularly sure that she'll be able to totally negate it, but I know at least that if once Rel goes in with her W and Soraka could potentially sneak in a silence there before Rel gets a chance to do the I forget what the ability is called, but it's the one where like in between the chains everybody gets stunned.
Hmm.
So that would be the thing that I would be looking towards. I think, however, that I kind of like post spot lane here a little bit more. I do think the Tristana range is really useful here, and I also think the Tristana's ability to push the wave will be good. Admittedly, the Rel has an execute on the minions, so that will help balance it out a little bit. But we may see Soraka potentially do the same thing to help counteract that, or we could see Soraka go for some sort of the Frost Fang Spell Thieves. That's the
The
word I was
spell
looking
thieves,
for.
yeah.
Yeah, Spell Thieves support item to really just lay down the poke on the Rel and just keep them to low HP, but for them to comfortably engage.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll be potentially a little uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's all about them kills, all about them towers. So if eventually the bottom lane of NJCU is able to win out, then that could be big. The last thing I want to kind of discuss a little bit before we're getting into this game is that Zed pick in the mid lane for NJCU. What do you make of it up against this team comp? Do you think it was counterpicked a little bit? Do you think that any big advantage was made for either team because of that pick? I mean, Zed is always the big assassin threat, such a cool champion. A bunch of people love looking at it do well, but at the same time, it can just as easily completely fizzle out, not really be able to do anything over the course of the entire game. So, what do you make of that pick, I guess? Personally, I'm a little iffy on it. I like it against, I mean, I just seeing it as a pick that was only picked into just the Jarvan was a little bit awkward, I think. The Zed pick.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would have to agree on that. Also,
mhm.
something interesting here, assuming that the summoner spells have not changed, this would be a Victor with an exhaust, which would just be
That
further looking to stop the Zed's ability to get a snowball and lead early.
yeah, that's really important. The double exhaust onto preferably for the Zed, but they also have it for potentially the Olaf, potentially the Jinx. There are a lot of options for exhaust in this game that are pretty good. And so I think it's pretty smart that Post has decided to elect to have two of them instead of going for the double ignite, which is what NJCU went for. They don't even have a teleport disadvantage because of it. Uh, so I think you're absolutely right that it is interesting and probably a bit smart. Um, we should be
The
getting into game fairly soon, I think.
I would imagine so. The other thing that I would be looking at here is I really want to see this J4 try and be a little bit more proactive this time. I
Yeah,
don't think you want to get into a farming match with an Olaf. And I gave the example of the Olaf as somebody who farms pretty quickly. I don't think J4 wants to just get into a farming match with Olaf. I think he would much rather get some action on the map, either for his bully bear or potentially for your bot lane.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there is some decent enough gank setup, especially for a Jarvan who has such a good ganking with that flag and drag. You want to see
Another
him go for something.
Yeah, another another very important, or at least potentially important, ability combination to look for would be the J4 flag and drag into the Cataclysm, and then Soraka can put the silence inside of the Cataclysm, so you can't even flash out of it.
Yeah, that would definitely be very big.
That's a very old staple kill box, basically. It was the
Yeah,
kill
we can
box before
see
Thresh
a
was, so.
bit of a messy early fight here. NJCU kind of looking down into this bottom side. It looks like they want the invade completely, but since they're spotted, I guess they'll just leave. That was a little bit awkward. I don't know if any vision on the top side will be exchanged for that play. It does look like vision on the bottom side was secured for NJCU, so they will know side here. That's a little bit of engage there, but
Ooh, the Polar Bears
don't miss your
gonna
mark just kind of walked away from it. But now,
let the
walking
victor be in here.
over. Yeah.
Quite a bit of poke damage going down onto the Papa here.
Yeah, Knuckle Puck was able to get a little bit of damage down. It looks like Don't Miss Your Mark is going to have to back early. Might expend the teleport at level 1, which is a very long cooldown, but not necessarily catastrophic if you're not too excited for it. Might also just walk back to lane, maybe miss a couple minions, but shouldn't be anything too terrible for Don't Miss Your Mark. Just a little bit of an awkward start. Both junglers will be opening on their bottom sides, as you mentioned. Bit faster for KP Cooper on the Olaf. Something else I want to mention before we get too far into the game is that level 1 Baby Slime is now mid lane on the Zed, while Paco Parrot is support on the Rel. Previously, they were swapped around. Level 1 Baby Slime was the support. Paco Parrot was the mid laner. That could be a pretty big change. Paco Parrot is definitely a fantastic Rel player, and we might just see the engage right now. Ton of damage coming out.
Advantage.
And that'll be, yep.
That might just be all.
That doesn't tick down. Very close to ticking down.
Wow.
Chris, but does not get it. And the heals from Gunner is going to be so big. But there's the engage coming out. The flash forward, the ignite. I think level 1 Baby Slime has done it. That's first blood in the mid lane for the Zed. That's huge. And a Blind Swan is just not going to be able to respond. Huge early play in the mid lane, and now we're seeing an engage in the top lane.
Wow,
there's nothing that Angel Assassin can really do about this. Does get a lot of damage back down on Don't Miss Your Mark, but
this is a surprisingly beneficial early scenario for NJCU. I really was not expecting this much action or especially going very heavily in NJCU's favor this early on.
Even in the previous game, not to cut you off, but even in the previous game, they weren't really. Oh, and there's a bit of a fight in the jungle actually. Not to cut off that point, but does get a ton of damage down to Blind Swan, who does get taken out. Going to try to chase down the bot lane of Post. They're not going to find anything, but there's another kill, and even in the previous game, to finish my point, NJCU was not finding these kinds of kills this early on. Now they are finding these kills. Now there are 2 kills onto level 1 Baby Slime, the Zed. And that's a very scary Zed to be playing against. Now Knuckle Puck has no summoners. I mean, there are no summoners for either mid laner, but I think that favors level 1 Baby Slime, who is 2 kills up.
Yeah, so this is a 4-minute Sarah again. That's very scary.
Yep. The engage there from Paco, not going to find any. But it is scary. And the engage actually in for P. Cooper in the mid lane. They're able to stop it. Knuckle Puck is going to put down the third. Yeah, Angel Assassin trying to find this one. Don't miss your mark. One more hit and will do it, but not going to find it. That was very close. I think a canceled auto attack was all that did it. That was incredibly close. It might have also been the flash out from Don't Miss Your Mark at the perfect time, but that was very, very potentially scary up there. I didn't mean to rhyme that, but now a bit of trading happening in the bottom lane. It feels like the aggression has been kept up from Post, even with how much they've been bullied down in this bottom lane. They've had a lot, but they have not fallen incredibly far behind. Just about a 10 CS difference. Nothing too horrible at this point. The mid lane summoners are coming back up. Notably, the bottom lane summoners have been down for a while. The heal and the flash, and ooh, that's so much damage. A great job by level 1 Baby Slime to land the abilities to get that, and double buffs.
Ooh.
The Zed just going to run that one down. The Ignite actually isn't what did it. It was the red buff tick. And another easy kill for level 1 Baby Slime, and this is what you don't want. A Zed getting far enough ahead. Just a little bit of lane trading. Yep, there's the gold, almost 1,000 or over 1,000 ahead. And actually, big engage from Paco, trying to get the kill, but
Already
actually gets
under
it
there.
turned around
Wow.
on by Gunner. It is a 1-for-1 trade and probably a bit in the favor of NJCU just because Chris will no longer be there to get the wave picked up. So there will be a lot of minions lost to the tower. But even still, a 1-for-1 trade is better than Post has had this game so far, with everyone having died except for Gunner. And there's the early Infernal as well. Just adds extra problems for Post, although NJCU didn't even need the dragons in the previous game to close that one out.
I do think this. I do think for Post this is not a game over situation.
Ooh.
However, I do think that. Oh my goodness.
The ultimate's available. I think this will just be the engage and probably the kill onto Chris. And there it is. The tick comes out. Level 1 Baby Slime with the 1v1 under tower onto Chris. And that is just so bad for Pose. I mean, it feels awful if you are Chris, who walked back to lane and died immediately to not even your enemy laner. Don't Miss Your Mark is actually doing a ton of damage in this lane here. Using the E, not on the wall, the ultimate burned. But the ultimate has actually been used in return for Angel Assassin. I think the extra health there will do it. But, oh, Don't Miss Your Mark, not going to go for it there. It felt like Don't Miss Your Mark wanted it. Yeah, I don't think that needed to be engaged either. But it felt exciting. It feels like Don't Miss Your Mark hasn't really been able to do a whole lot this game after the early gank up top side. It'd be nice to see them get a little bit of time in the spotlight, but I don't think it's necessary.
What I was meaning to say though is that I don't think
Yeah,
this is necessarily a game over situation for Post. They're certainly behind at this point, but I don't think this is like a game over situation if you manage to play safe and just scale up and just be willing to wait for your J4 to come around and help you out. Wait for the numbers mismatch.
Yep.
Volibear seems like he might be able to do some early dueling up here, but like Victory in particular, probably. I say he has went for the cloth armor, which I really like. Ooh.
There it goes. The tick, I think, will come out. Oh, it comes out before the hourglass ends, or sorry, the stopwatch ends, but Knucklepuck still just gets knocked down by the shurikens. And Don't Miss Your Mark. Gonna try for it again, but actually is taking a ton of damage from this Volibear. Rip Static Shiv coming through. And oh, Thunder of the Roses gets knocked down in the bottom lane with the Super Mega Death Rocket. And oh no, the Chomper's coming through. That's a lot of damage early on, a lot of CC, and Chris gets knocked down as well. That's a double kill in the bottom lane. And while we were not looking at it, level 1 Baby Slime got a kill in the mid lane onto Blind Swan, and this gank is coming top lane. KP Cooper has just taken down Angel Assassin in the top lane. Another just walking up top lane. Not really any CC available, but just taking down Angel Assassin, and that'll probably be tower in the bottom lane. Even if it's not tower in the bottom lane, it's so many plates, so much gold across the map.
Yeah, I.
Okay, well, free recall.
Yeah,
it takes a little bit longer, but it's a free recall.
It's better to do that than to give gold to your opponents, at least. So there's some
That's
silver lining to that.
that's definitely true. First tower is taken in the bottom lane as well, and X-Chucky, X-Chucky. Oh, well, that's going to be another kill for level 1 Baby Slime. X-Chucky has not been the key point of this game, but definitely is very far ahead as well. And even if you're able to take care of level 1 Slime, you still have to worry about that big Jinx who's going to be looming over the entire game. It's getting a bit worrying for Post. I mean, if you're Post, you want to be scaling towards the late game. They have options to scale towards the late game. They have options when they hit the late game. It's just an issue of how do you hit the late game when there is such a strong Zed with 7 kills just wandering the map. Regardless of what that Zed is doing, you have to be afraid, as well as you have to be afraid of this Jinx. So much damage coming out. Well, that wasn't a lot of damage, but it was just very scary.
The rundown potential from the new range on the rockets is really scary, though. Especially with the Kraken's Lair this early on in the game.
Yeah. Ooh, and that was very close to dead. Gunnar had the... I believe it was the heal plus the Soraka heal that kept Chris alive. But even then, that's a summoner heal. Burned.
That's a very good wish from Soraka to keep her Tristana alive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And now, KP Cooper running in, taking down Gunnar to start off the fight. And there is nothing that any of these champions can do about it. That is 2 quick kills, make it 3. All 3 of them go to level 1 Baby Slime, and NJCU takes control of this game even more as KP Cooper and level 1 Baby Slime just run over this game. I feel like the the top lane fight is like the sideshow where Don't Miss Your Mark is like a little bit ahead, but not enough to where Angel Assassin is like not able to compete. So we're getting like the undercard fight where those two are just kind of like battling it out in the top lane, and then the whole rest of the map is NJCU completely in control. Don't Miss Your Mark wants the kill here. Has the Cloud Dragon that won't do a whole lot for it.
This may actually be turned by the Volibear.
Yep, has the passive stacked up. Going to try to...
W2 does so much damage as well.
Ooh, but gets slowed down by the Q from the Poppy, so... Not going to be able to get there, not going to get the kill. So many close moments in this top lane so far. Unfortunately, neither of them were able to pick anything up apart from those 2 ganks from KP Cooper. And now level 1 Baby Slime walking in. Can Angel Assassin get the recall off in time?
Yeah, Volibear.
Aww, the flash
unfortunate
used by level 1 Baby Slime. I don't think that was necessary.
I don't think that was necessary either. I don't think there was a need to greed like that, but
yeah, that's a lot of damage coming through. Flash forward from Nugglepuck, trying to get damage down, but not going to find it. I believe the Super Mega Deck Rocket misses, but Paco is able to finish off the kill. Blind Swan uses the Cataclysm and jumps away. Almost takes out Paco, but does not do it. KP Cooper now running it down with the Olaf. Very scary. Has already gotten Gunnar out of the way. Paco and KP Cooper are now a bit low on health. The kill does come out into Paco, but now it's 3v2. Make that a 3v1 as Chris gets taken down, and they are just going to run down this last kill onto Blind Swan. Angel Assassin does show up, but not going to get anything done. There's just too much healing on the side of KP Cooper on this Olaf. And that was just everyone running it into NJCU. 1 kill onto Paco Parrot. But apart from that, everybody just ran it down and died. And that makes things a little bit tougher for NJCU. They got a little bit of gold back, but it was onto the least valuable member. They weren't able to get kills onto any of the members with bounties. Yeah, just another... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to agree with what you said. That would probably be the silver lining if Post was to look at it, is that at least the carries did not get the gold from that fight, or at least not the kills, but Still looking pretty rough for Post.
Yeah, and that one's definitely a morale killer. Not a great engage and still getting away with it. Completely fine, completely happy, hoopty hey. And the engage from Paco coming through. Ton of damage getting layered in with those rockets. And Paco does die under turret, but so much damage is going to come out. They do get 2 kills in the mid lane, and they are just going to keep pushing this one down. Same script as the last game. Just take your AD carry, feed them a lot, and run it down the mid lane. And that is what NJCU is planning to do. Can't do it as fast as last game, I think, but they're still doing it pretty quick. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're still going to try. And I think the rest of this game... No, go ahead.
I do think that for Post, you may want to try and just clump up here as much as you can.
Yeah. Ooh,
I don't
level
think
1 baby swan has found blind swan. Level 1 baby swan does find a blind swan, and now that's an early hourglass. Level 1 baby slime just gonna walk away from that one. Knuckle Puck, very afraid of the Zed, as I would be, well, if I was 0 and 7 to it. Has just gone with the early hourglass just to try to avoid getting killed as much, but definitely a bit of a trigger finger on that hourglass. Wasn't really much of a use there, and level 1 babies kind of stood around, so still very scary and needed that slow zone. But there it is. There's another kill just running it down. And such an
2v1 here.
Oh, there it is.
Here.
There it is.
Trying to teleport out.
Tried to teleport, didn't realize the ultimate was still available. I don't know that that's a great trade. Ooh, does try to get away. A couple flashes come through, but it will be finished off by level 1 baby slime. Scratch that, just the one flash from Don't Miss Your Mark, used in exchange for the flash from Angel Assassin. Definitely attempted a fun escape, but not really going to make that one work. On cooldown, this is going to be taken, this Ocean Dragon. We're moving towards an Ocean Soul, which, apart from everything else Post is dealing with right now, you don't want to also deal with an Ocean Soul.
Yeah, simultaneously, NJCU is looking at the Herald and the top half of the map. Oh, wait, no, they're not. Oh, yes, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah. And Gunner just gets cut down as well by X-Chucky. Not a whole lot you could do about it. I mean, eventually you'll have to face check something with how little of the map belongs to you. The Moonstone Renewer is complete, but not a whole lot to renew when your team's getting burst out like this. And we'll see if NJCU decides to go for anything quickly here. They don't have the same kind of turret pressure as the Tristana in this game, but they're still a very strong team. We'll see if they can try to take anything down. And there is the engage. Not actually anything out of that one, though. So we'll wait. We'll wait on the Rift Herald. That'll probably be what pushes in this tower. There it goes. That one's down. And Paco runs it through. Everyone goes in on to Post, and everyone falls down. Don't Miss Your Mark is going to chase down a blind swan on the backside of things. Couple of players still left alive, but overall it was just one big burst after the engage from Paco Parrot. And yeah, the complete domination in this series for NJCU. 2 very clean, very early victories. They might have a couple deaths to tower here, but overall, just a fantastic series from NJCU, wiping up Post 2-0 to finish off this varsity match.
Yeah, that was a bit of
yeah, you could definitely call it that. If you're NJCU, you have to be happy about how that turned out. Everything was clicking just fine. They found their win conditions. In the first game, it was get to your ultimates, use your ultimates, win. And the second game, it was get ahead in mid lane, transfer that a little bit to bot lane and transfer that pressure up to top lane a little bit. Even though top lane, honestly, tank matchup doesn't matter too much. It stayed even the whole time, but don't matter too much if it stays even. So just transfer that matchup to the rest of the map, and you're golden. You win through mid. And while a lot of that was just kind of skill, for level 1 baby slime getting the one, for the bottom lane of NJCU getting the kills in game number 1, a lot of it is good execution. Like, it's good execution of a good plan. They knew how to execute the draft that they had drafted themselves.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that as well. I think it's hard. You don't want to sell short in NJCU because they did execute very well, and they did a very, very good job. Once they established their lead, they did a very good job snowballing it and really very effectively starving out their opponent from the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess as we're closing out this stream, what kind of yeah, I guess we'll move towards closing out this stream. That'll be the conclusion of this matches today. I have been Turquoise Yoshi. With me has been Sad Mavis. Be sure to check out the NJCU Discord if you are not already in the eSports Discord. Be sure to check out NJCU eSports on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the other social medias that NJCU eSports is on. Be sure to follow this Twitch that we're on right now for future games. We have our wonderful schedule. Smash Ultimate every Monday, Rocket Day, League of Legends is typically every Friday. So yeah, I think with that, we are going to close this one out. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been NJCU 2, Post University 0 in Varsity League of Legends. So thank you all for watching.
Thank you and good night.